Hi, this is the first time I've sat up all day long, believe it or not. Been fighting off migraines since early doors. And since we don't have any questions this week, I'm just going to freeform it, talk a little bit. Welcome back, Susan Dumas. Talk about COVID. Here she had it. I've had it too. And sort of keep resetting the mindset for everyone who continues to tune in because that's really important. One of the things that was beaten into my head over and over in all the marketing courses that I took when I was getting ready to launch fitness protection was that you have to have your points and you need to stick to them because the reason people come to you are those talking points and you can't say them often enough. So we're going to say, so I'm not trying to sell you anything, rather, just some reminders that you don't have to race. Listen to your body and why that will always matter, especially right now at a time of COVID. So, not to pick on Susan, welcome back, Susan Dumas. Haven't seen you in years, and I'm just thrilled to have you on board. Also, someone who trained with me, I don't know if you guys might remember a woman named Erica Roberts. She and I are Facebook friends. I trained her in 2017 for half marathon with AMR, and she passed away from ovarian cancer last night. So, it was a long, protracted battle, and that ended very quietly and peacefully and not a lot of pain. So if you knew her, remember her, you can look through my friends list probably and find her. I think you can still search for specific people through my friends list. Go leave a nice note on her Facebook page. Her family needs it right now. So, okay. So that is that. Susan Dumas came back. I was thrilled to get to speak to the phone with her this week. She was supposed to run Chicago and bravely and wisely said, not this year. Here's why I love that so much. Coming back to the marketing points that I can't, the things that I will keep saying until I don't need to say them anymore, which is never, I'm always going to say them. So marathons should be a celebration of where your body is at. It should be a celebration of your training. It should be an acknowledgement of all the work that you've done. Few things in this life are more painful and more heartbreaking than doing a race that you're not prepared for. I feel a lot of people, I've said this in the past, that people quit long before they get to the start line. I tend to argue with clients about this a lot. The world tends to see quitting as DNFing, did not finish, or DNSing, did not start. I think that's one of the most badass things you can do is to own where you are, and say, hey, I'm not ready for this. And that's okay, because showing up when you're not ready, when your body's saying, I don't think so, there's no glory in that. And pre-COVID, the world celebrated hustle culture. And I talk about that a lot too, saying that there's no glory in the grind itself. You got to find some joy in it, right? Because if running is just a grind and you don't connect with it and you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do this thing very long. You're not going to stick with it. And then you're going to blame yourself for not having willpower when in fact you've been doing something that you didn't want to do and didn't have any need to do and didn't have any reason to do. So by taking a look and saying, you know what, I'm not ready, that's huge, especially if you've had COVID, and here is why. Without going into, I have a lot of friends who could not be vaccinated for a lot of different reasons. I have a lot of people who chose not to get vaccinated for a lot of different reasons. I feel like we are so far past any conversation about that. The reality, though, is this. We do know for sure that in the period after contracting COVID, you become super susceptible to long COVID. I have long COVID. I got COVID for the first time in May of this year, and it sucked. I didn't even have a severe case of it. Didn't need a ventilator, didn't have to go to the hospital. Found out because the rest of my family had it. They all tested positive and were able to get on the antiviral. So the thing that sucks about this, there are two aspects of long COVID that, for me, having only had a mild case and only having had it this year, are really scary. One is called POTS syndrome, POTS. It's a sudden drop of blood pressure that happens if I stand up too quickly or sit down too quickly. I've been known to stand up, almost kind of black out, and then have to grab the wall, or even better, keel over. It scares my kids. And it's a drop in blood pressure, and the doctors don't know what causes it or what we can do about it, if anything. And while my body has been dealing with that, I also have massively reduced lung capacity. Now, Yes, I had a lot of other things going on with my body before COVID and before this happened, but that lung capacity I have yet to recover from, and it's maddening. I'll go out for a walk, try to get a good deep breath, and I can't. It's not asthma, but it is damage caused by this virus. Now, not all people who get COVID, not all people will get COVID. Not all people who get COVID will get long COVID, but we know that you are more likely to get it if you do not take enough time resting after a diagnosis. So, again, as hard as it may be, for Susan to say, I got COVID, I don't think this marathon's a good idea. I'm like, yes, because all you're going to do is guarantee that your day's going to be painful. And instead of a really cool medal, you're probably going to get long COVID. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And the vaccine won't save you from it. So, because I've got all the vaccinations and all the upgrades, and still I got COVID and long COVID. So I tell you that to tell you this. If you're not ready, that's okay. I'm not ready, and that's okay. I'm no less of a runner, and neither are you. For those of you who are training, that's amazing. We've got Christy Harris, who is training for the Houston Marathon, which is at the third weekend in January. If any of you are looking for a race and want to go see her new amazing Cowtown spread, mid-century modern, I think she calls it. We've got Erin Manter-White, who's running her first-time half marathon next weekend. There are so many of us who are doing this work right now because it's the work that we love, and it's the work that we always do. And it's for those of us, it's just work that we can't do. So I'm always going to love this stuff, and I'm not doing it right now, not because I don't want to, not because I'm lazy, not because of any pejorative you want to put on it, but because it doesn't make sense for me right now. What I do is cheer for everyone else, and we've all got to get collectively to a point where we can cheer for everyone else without using that to feel bad about ourselves. Okay? Just because you aren't doesn't mean you can't, doesn't mean you won't, and really doesn't mean you should. Okay. So if you're training, yay. If you're not, embrace it. Look for things to train for. Because again, if you're not, races are expensive. Traveling to a race is expensive. Being somewhere for the weekend of a race, that's a lot of money. It really is. Why would you want to do that if you weren't feeling, you don't have to feel perfect, but you need to feel like good, right? Fair to middling's good enough. I'll take it. So you need to have had a couple of successful long runs that give you confidence. Someone else who is DNS recently, Dan, not to call him out, but it was pretty brave. Dan has had a really solid training cycle, a shortened one. He's in a really good place. He's super strong, but his knee was like, I'm not happy with this. And Dan was like, I'm not happy with this or with you. I hate to do it, but I'm going to put it off. And I'm proud as hell of Dan, because what that tells me, instead of having a mediocre Scranton day, Dan is going to have a kick-ass Philadelphia, Houston, whatever he decides to do next. I know those aren't two that you thought about, Dan, but think about them, because we've got people going to those races. We've got a whole bunch of people in FPP that are going to Philadelphia for that race weekend. And I wish we had the money to be there, but business has been, as I've said, it's taken a hit. It's coming back, but I don't have enough money yet in the kitty for me to be able to travel out there this year. Next year, though, hopefully. But with that said, we got people that are doing fitness protection. So we got people who are doing Philadelphia. We've got people who are doing sim. If you're doing a race, go ahead and put it in the comments. Let me know and let other people know. We can have a really great weekend. We could have a meetup. We can do a lot of fun things, but we can't do anything if we have long COVID and we don't feel good. So just a final reminder, you don't have to race to be legit. Granted, when you are in a good place and you feel good, a training plan can make you feel great. When you are not quite in a place to train, a training plan can make you feel like crap, because what you're going to see are all the boxes of the workouts you didn't do or were not able to do adding up. And it's going to hit your self-esteem, and it's going to hit your sense of confidence. So I would much rather we have 3 or 4 solid months of just running. I don't care if you follow Maintain or not. I don't care if you follow Rebuild or not. I care that you're here connecting with me, connecting with the community, talking about what you're doing, taking pride in what you're doing, and not asking too much of yourself. Again, those medals are really nice, but you know it isn't? Long COVID. I don't love having to practice every morning with my little respirator toy that helps work on my lung capacity. It's exercise I would rather not do, but I don't have a choice. If you can spare yourself, please spare yourself and save your body and do a race after you've had 3 or 4 months of feeling strong, feeling good, and then think you can take it on. And again, once you get on that training plan, if you're on one right now, all you need to do is about 75 to 80% of it to have a really great race day. It's the people who weren't doing any running before they picked up the training plan who are going to hurt a whole lot more with each missed workout. Each missed workout matters a whole lot more because you didn't have anything coming before the training plan. The way that we do things here is we just run, and we don't dial it up until we have a good reason. We don't do hard workouts for the sake of doing hard things, because life is hard enough. We channel our energy, we preserve our bodies, we reserve we reserve our judgment, we conserve our energy, and then we serve it up when it's time. And now might not be the time, unless you're HRH, and it's always the time, and we're always failing, and that's okay. Anyway, so that is my big spiel for the week. There are lots of good races that are happening. Racing is coming back next year. If this was our last abnormal August, then I really do think that next year will be the first normal looking and feeling year. Save yourself for that. No need to try to force something right now. Wait and do it with all your friends next year. I've got a little money saved up and I can be there too. Why not? And I really hope to. So with that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you feel coached and loved. And I hope that you know that you're winning at life. And most of all, help me out with this playlist. Who is your queen? What is a queen to you? Let us know in the comments. Tell us what songs we need to add to our October queen-themed playlist. I already have Under Pressure on there. I have a couple others that you might have guessed, but surprise me. Send me things I might not have thought of. Have a great week, y'all. Is it ending? It's weird.